these things
and get
happen.
back. So yeah, for everybody that's joining us, this is, as we said, the winners bracket final. So this best of 3 will determine who will be going on to tomorrow's grand final later in the afternoon, and who indeed has to play in the constellation final to earn their way there. We are into the picks and bans. Let's get it up on screen for you guys, and we will get things underway with game number 1.
Yeah, so first thing to know, I'm expecting a Ziggs ban. Tick, Trick, and Duck, the mid laner Snow, famous Ziggs player. He was playing Ziggs a long time before it was cool. I saw it and I was like, whoa, this is actually a good champion. And actually kind of was at the time because he was kind of broken. But he played him a lot, has a lot of experience on that champion. He's very, very strong. You can play him into most matchups as well. So even though there's a lot of high priority mid laners out there, I'm still expecting to see the Ziggs ban.
Xerath being banned away from
Also
DX
Snow.
Alchemist.
Is it DX Alchemist?
Yeah, well,
He certainly-
Tick, Trick, and Duck have banned
Snow
it.
used to play old Xerath, I know
Yes, yeah. So Xerath did get changed a little while back, but it's a champion that Alchemist has played a lot.
Okay.
For a very long time. He played the old Xerath, played the new Xerath, played it, I believe, remembering back to MCM, Birmingham played it.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, he's played it quite a bit and does typically pretty well on it. This is a lot of mid lane bans so far, and to be honest,
It's understandable.
This is one of the first 2 that has really been a potent mid laner in Ziggs in Italy. So, I mean, we're not seeing Kassadin banned yet. We're not seeing Kale banned yet. We may very well still see them. Yeah, I mean...
There's too many. There's
There
literally
are-
too many strong mid lanes right now, especially when you've got these targeted ones like Xerath and Ziggs to ban out all the really, really strong ones.
Yeah, and I mean, we're getting down to the last ban here. There's a couple of big bans that still haven't been put through. I don't really want to kind of lead the teams into maybe a decision, so we will wait this last 10 seconds out while we're waiting on the last one. We do wait for the time. It's not. That was one of the ones I was kind of expecting. It's Aurelia, which leaves open quite a lot here for first pick, and then subsequently first and second pick over on the side of mistakes were made. Evelyn has been quite a high priority pick recently, but
Over Kassadin.
it's not only over Kassadin. You look at, I mean, Jax is available. Kassadin is available. Twitch is available.
There is an argument to be made for holding on to your mid lane pick at least, because
and
counters are so
Twitch.
strong.
Twitch, because of, you know, he's kind of vulnerable to a lot of crowd control. So
But he's not very good in
reasons to hold
2v1s either, because of the poison thing. He aggroes the tower a lot, which slows you down massively, but looks like the Jax is the potential lock-in. I'm not expecting Teemo,
on. No.
especially with quite a few other mid laners available. AD carry Teemo. But, you never know. A Mumu.
I was gonna say, you know, Amumu, it comes back every now and again. He's picked like once, and then everybody's like, Amumu's so good, and then everyone remembers he just invade against Amumu, and
Yeah,
He kinda
he's
dies.
pretty vulnerable to that. The thing that he would potentially do, though, is something that's been mentioned, is as the hyper carry champions become more popular, as Twitch becomes more popular, so too does the power of a Mumu rise.
Yeah.
Because essentially, you're going to hit him, as long as you bandage stuff somewhere nearby, you're going to hit him with the ult, and then there's a bunch of chain stuff you can focus him out really, really quickly. But locking him in before you've even seen it is not a brilliant plan.
be interesting to see this locked in by Tick, Trick, and Duck. It is going to get locked in. So we've seen Zyra rise once again. Kind of dips in and out depending on how much the babysit supports are brought back into it. So you look at your Leonas, your Threshes, that kind of thing. We saw, of course, the Morgana, all of those kinds of lanes. So Zyra kind of, while she was great for disengage, there were a lot of other champions that did a very similar job. You look at Karma, who does a similar job, probably has that little bit more utility as well to her. So just interesting to see. And you can see that the Leona is hovered over here by Yara.
Yeah, Zyra as a support is very matchup dependent. For instance, against Leona, she's awful. She is really, really awful. You will be destroyed in lane if you end up in a 2-on-2. But the thing is, she functions very, very well in 2 versus 1 lane. So they may be looking for that. They would have fast pushing with Caitlyn, with the Zyra as well for the wave clear. But of course, having Leona Lucian isn't a bad 2-on-1 lane yourself, and you can get that bottom lane dominance and the dragon control from it. The thing is, though, if you bait out as like a Thresh pick or a Morgana pick, Zyra actually suddenly works very, very well against those champions. She can really bully them out with the plant harass from a long range. In fact, I was talking to a challenger support player recently, said Zyra probably the best poke support at the moment, even compared to Karma.
Interesting that that is the case.
In his eyes.
Yeah, of course, that's subject to player opinion, but you know, that set of picks there took quite a while for mistakes were made. They settled on Kassadin and Leona, and that means now Braum is disabled for this.
Yes.
He is not allowed to be picked alongside, I believe it's Lissandra and
definitely.
then Shen, I believe.
Shen and Lissandra are both bugged
Yeah.
at the moment, so they are not allowed.
Ooh.
Hello.
Okay, so
Works
against that
Jax.
Kassadin. Pardon?
Works against Jax.
It does,
That's the thing.
true. That's what I was going to say, is against that Kassadin, are they going to place Ryze or are they going to place Jace?
Thus far, from what I've seen of Ryze versus Jax, Ryze needs a lot of babysitting. But if he gets ahead, he can really get ahead. He can really snowball that lane. Ryze versus Kassadin, though, unlike what it used to be, where the silence would really screw you, because you try and trade, obviously Ryze needs to cast multiple spells, get silence, he's like, and then Kassadin walks away. Nowadays, though, Ryze can trade really strongly with Kassadin, because obviously they're both short-range mages on the Null Sphere versus the Overload, but Ryze can throw multiple spells and hold you in place long enough to throw a second Overload as well. So he can out-trade Kassadin in the lane. This may well be, as a result, a mid-lane Ryze. And obviously, if he gets that, he can also go for a very aggressive early start, like a Sapphire Crystal, and out-mana sustain.
So, mistakes were made. Have two very strong top laners right now. Shyvana saw a little bit of a drop-off. I wonder where it's going to sit. We've seen Jax jungle with that bait and switch once or twice. And typically it's not good in the early game. You struggle to get into the lane. If you can land a counter strike, yeah, okay, it's okay, but the bait and switch really has to give you a very favorable top lane. And right now there's a lot of ambiguity in Tick, Trick and Duck's lineup as well.
Yeah, the basic fact about Jax jungle is that Jax late game, he is best split pushing. Like, he is at his best. Split pushing requires you to be stronger than your opponent in a one-on-one, and being stronger than your opponent in a one-on-one is difficult if you have reduced gold farm and you have reduced XP farm. It's, as a result, Jax jungle, if he snowballs, he could be a real terror, he can get a Feral Flare even, and just destroy your entire team, but you're generally going to be better with him in top lane anyway, since the extra experience means he can usually dominate his lane post 6 anyway.
Yeah, I'm looking at things, so it looks like, as we head into the delay period, it looks like it's Jace in the middle lane.
Okay.
Against the Kassadin, and then Ryze in the top lane against Shyvana, which I think, I'm wondering whether that's kind of damage control out by TTD because of this bait and switch. I'm just wondering whether they're thinking, okay, maybe we can zone out Kassadin a little bit by having a ranged mid laner against him rather than force Jace up to the top lane. It's one of these things that from here there could be so many different lane swaps as well that really we don't know.
Yeah, there is of course also an aspect here where Tick, Trick and Duck have much more early jungle presence. They've got an Evelynn. If you put Ryze against Jax and you have much more jungle presence, you can win that lane, you can win it hard, you can get a super farmed Ryze who is actually also stronger in a one-on-one than either Shyvana or Jax, especially considering it's a jungle Jax. That also then leaves you with the Jace versus Kassadin matchup, which I'm actually not as keen on as it may appear. I have a feeling that is quite a vulnerable matchup to being ganked. It's harder to bully out people than you expect with just his auto attacks, because the Shock Blast can be blocked by the minions, and Kassadin is very good at playing around within the minion line. As a result of all that, the upshot is basically that if Evelynn does well, Tick, Trick and Duck does well. If not, though, if she fails to get ganked, if they even go even, they could have a lot of trouble as the game goes on.
Yeah, there's just so much ambiguity right now.
Even with the lock-ins.
Yeah,
it's-
exactly. I mean, I'm trying to look at if you go for that kind of 2v1, who do you put in the 1? Because
Well, Jax isn't a bad diver.
no, exactly. He's pretty darn good under turret, like that kind of dive. So there's so much in this game right now that's just a little bit different from what we've seen.
Yeah, it's a very interesting set of choices. Stealing away the Jax, I think, was what caused basically all of this. I'm still not sure I like the bait and switch though, because as you said, like, it's not that hard to get Jax ahead.
Yeah.
And once he's got a Blade of the Ruined King, Rise has no hope against it.
It's really going to rely on Lasagna's early game so heavily.
But then you put him on a bad early game
Yeah,
champion.
exactly. Like that's I think that's the thing is when you've got a scaling champion like Kassadin, and now a scaling champion like Jax, if they're not able to get free farm, you're severely limiting the amount of gold that really can be picked up from solo lanes. When you look at a champion like Jax and Kassadin want to get ganks to get kills in both lanes separately and then free farm to just kind of compound on it. Now they've got to have one's going to get the kill, one's going to get the assist. Yes, times may be spent a little bit more efficiently, but if Jax doesn't get free farm, we know how vulnerable Jax is when he hasn't got those 2 items. And the question is, he now has to build a different path as well, that it's expensive to get Trinity Force out of the jungle.
Very expensive. And the other thing, of course, is that you're often actually forced, as Jax, in the jungle to get one offensive item. That is not where he really shined. He is not as strong unless he is allowed to get so much damage, because he's a sustained damage dealer, but he gets so much damage, he starts bursting you down, basically. As long as he can kill you, basically, within the active of Blade of the Ruined King and the Counter-Strike CC, he's golden. He's going to kill anyone one-on-one. If he doesn't have that much damage, he becomes a lot easier to deal with because you can just kite him out, and he's not that strong at sticking to you.
Yeah, it's so interesting right now. We are loading into the game as well, guys.
Yeah.
So we are just about ready to get going. As soon as we're all loaded in, we'll be ready with game number 1 of this best of 3 to determine who will go to the grand finals. We are onto the Rift here for Tick, Trick, and Duck against, I nearly read Lasagna's tag. It's mistakes were made.
Yeah, if we do call them Coast at one point, I'll just shout at us or something. There's nothing we can do about our brains being bad at words.
Yeah, unfortunately, that sometimes happens when players have name tags.
Yep.
Ah, dear.
Yeah, that's been a problem for a long time. I mean, DX Alchemist had a tag for ages, didn't he? I remember making a lot of mistakes. Maybe it was not him. Caster memories, for those of you who don't know, are almost universally awful.
Yeah.
I don't know why, because we have to memorize every single skill name of every single champion.
That's the key, really, is just
Taking up
remembering
too
the
much
ones that
space.
you need, and then like trying to free up space for other information. So as soon as like a player steps down, it's like goodbye information.
True.
It's not like that.
I can't remember
That's-
faces. Like, I talk to people, then the next day I talk to them again, and I have a vague sense of familiarity with you.
I would have thought you'd have, recognized your own family by now, but
Once they've been out of the house for more than a week, it's gone.
Oh dear. But we are in a pause. You can see that. We can see that. It wouldn't be a game of League without a pause to begin with. But it looks like the ready is coming through, and your screen's working this time. For now.
Well, it hasn't necessarily. It is on directed camera. Last time it
Okay.
should be working, which means I can look at things
Good.
that are happening.
You can provide some even more analysis
Ooh.
again. Like now you can click on whatever you want.
Nightmare. Was he seen that?
I don't think so.
Does it display the exclamation mark on the Jax if the Jax can't be seen by the Evelyn? Because the exclamation mark is for Evelyn's benefit normally.
That's confused me.
Well, so like,
Because I'm thinking exclamation marks, and I'm like, I don't think I saw one.
yeah, I didn't see one, right? But the thing is, if you can see Evelyn, it doesn't show the exclamation mark. Does it normally in a game?
God, now you put
Like if
me
you're
under the-
against Evelyn, I think.
I don't.
I
think
might
you
be
Don't
wrong.
you just like? I can't remember. I'm such a.
You're such a bad
I was
caster,
going to
Stress.
say those exact words and then was like, I don't want to go that far, but apparently you do.
Yeah,
Thanks, bud.
that's
You
okay.
got my back here.
I'll be your friend forever, Stress. So,
There are deep wards in the jungle out from Tick, Trick, and Duck. It's okay, we're good friends. We work together many a time.
I hate him.
That ward is going to expire, so it gives Tick, Trick, and Duck the knowledge that it is a blue stat out from Jax. So we will be expecting him to join that top lane duo pretty shortly once he's got up through the jungle. No invades.
Yep, no invades. We do have 2 versus 1s, but interestingly, we're not seeing the top laners do the tag-along. They're not getting experience here, which kind of weakens the whole 4 versus 0 plan, and they may just be happy to let them sit on the tower and be afraid of the dive, but they've always got teleport to get back in if they need to.
I'm still laughing.
Smiling. What are you smiling at?
I'm just laughing at the fact that you called me a bad caster
I'm
right after I was about to.
That's a horrible insult, but I was only repeating what you were thinking yourself.
That's worrying that you were repeating what I was thinking. That hopefully you don't do that on cast. But
What are you thinking about that's not allowed
taken
on
Alchemist
cast?
pretty low in the middle lane already. Although Alchemist does have that shield, you know, every now and again in the early game, but you can see that
block
Snow.
anything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying.
Snow is dealing damage, but here comes Lasagna. Acceleration gate comes through. Gets him out of the way.
Didn't get in range or didn't have the spells stacked up for the Force Pulse. So no slow means basically no gank. Now we actually have him heading up top lane to join up with Phantom Jones. They're not going to dive this, are they?
Oh, it looks like they are. Yera goes right the way in. That's first blood going over to Jax. Somehow Yera managed to survive. He flashed out. Surely at
this
this
can work for them now.
point, yeah, I mean, if they can lock down Nightmare and not take damage for it, teleport's going to come out. That should deny everything here.
Okay, well, it worked. Okay, props to them. It worked out. I was thinking that was a little bit too risky, but they did juggle the damage. And of course, it's always much safer to dive if everyone has Flash who's involved. Because it means you can tank the tower for as long as you need to and just get out of dodge there. Zanya just popping around there, but not going to be actually doing anything. And I'm actually surprised at how much he's been attempting to gank so far, because he needs to be building up some farm, assuming he's going Feral Flare, which maybe he isn't.
It's interesting that TTD have sent their jungler over to the defensive situation rather than that 4v0 that we've seen quite a lot. And, you know, now Yera might be in a little bit of trouble because Nightmare is still here. Didn't get the Zenith Blade away from Nightmare, so still taking the hate spikes. Oh, that's a ward in the bush. He's going to allow Shoot Up to pick up the kill in return. Flash out with a red buff, and the hate spike is enough to take down Shoot Up.
It's Lasagna, though.
Here is Lasagna back into lane. Nightmare pretty low, forced to flash out. Does get that movement speed, gets himself away.
Yeah, got away, but that does mean again Lasagna is the one turning up, and he's going to be getting some solo lane farm and experience here. Although actually he is choosing to let it go for his team, and they will just be losing the tower race basically.
Yeah, that's a tower going over to Tick, Trick, and Duck. They had a slight gold lead as it is, and they will compound that as soon as they actually decide to take the tower.
Maximizing gold
Okay,
gain.
they're gonna just sit here and let themselves farm. They are up on farm, so you know any kind of advantage if you can hold that. It hasn't been an exceptionally fast game for tower pushing, so they're just gonna sit here.
There is always a risk if you are in Tick, Trick, and Duck's position right now. If you push out that wave, you take down the tower, push it out, and your opponent has a Kassadin who can roam down very quickly to threaten you if you overextend into that territory, and you have a Shyvana who is very happy to freeze for a long time and farm up, and a jungler who is happy to sit top to just make sure it doesn't get dived and to make sure and to do a lot of jungle farming himself, that you will get frozen up. You can't let that happen, so they do have to make sure that Instinctive dies.
Oh, Instinctive.
And I think they may be about to try.
Oh, there's the reveal. Nightmare is just going to reveal enough to keep Instinctive. Meanwhile, in the middle lane, I'm going to swap over there because Snow is incredibly low as well. Instinctive is dropped low himself. That's Tick, Trick, and Duck picking up a tower and a kill in exchange for a kill in the middle lane.
Yeah, and now they have got Lasagna heading down there. He should be freezing this lane. He needs to freeze this lane. There is so much value to their team that he's actually not managed to get there in time to freeze the lane before the tower.
one of the benefits as Phantom Joe in the top lane is going to get locked down. Chooses to Rune Prison Yarrow because he had the turret aggro. Chewed Up will pick up the kill. And now it's I would have imagined would have been a trade of Dragon for the tower, but TTD aren't going to take the Dragon when they had their 2-man advantage in the bottom.
Well, the problem for them to do that again is that if you've got a Kassadin, it's very difficult to deal with him around the Dragon Pit. As a result, they're just going to kind of let this farm happen. Meanwhile, Chewed Up and Yarrow, this is possibly a bit risky. She's got Agony's Embrace.
Oh dear, here comes the Agony's Embrace. It is only level 1, so the damage isn't that big. She's squishy because of how low she is. Shock Blast comes through. Didn't tag Yarrow, but it was Chewed Up that Snow was looking for by the looks of things.
They chased too far, Kassadin's
Jumps
coming.
Forward, Kassadin walking up through the river as well. Yarrow is going so low, but it's so slow as well. Snow will pick up the first kill. Here comes Kassadin and the teleport out from Instinctive. Here comes the turnaround on this fight because Instinctive is looking to chase down Phantom Joe, who is very low. He's waiting on Rune Prison to come up. It is available. Will it save him? They'll flash forward out of Instinctive into the burnout, and Alchemist will force Pulse his way to another kill.
Over chasing, they get killed as a result, and that will potentially lose them a buff and possibly a bit of damage on the top tower. Certainly going to lose them some farm. They fall behind off of that, and that does mean now that Trick and Duck are pulling themselves just a little bit ahead. Dragonplay coming in now. Should be able to just pick that up, and that would put them well, roughly equal.
Not having the support on the lower side of the map has meant there's very little Dragon control out of them, and Jax is actually top side of the map. So as you said, it's a Dragon going over to Tick, Trick and Duck. Pretty much evens this game up, and now TTD may be looking for a pick. Yarrow is pretty healthy at that point, and Bonaparte's on his own, so nothing gonna come from that one, but let's take a look at where some of the gold has fallen in the last couple of minutes. Wow, actually 0-4. I didn't actually notice that on Phantom Joe already. That's not a good position for Ryze to be in. 21 farm, and he's on track to get his core, but hasn't got the catalyst yet. He's been really punished by the 2v1.
Yeah, that is always the weakness of Ryze. He is bad in 2v1s because he's squishy and has no escape. Now, is he weak enough that Instinctive can 1v1 him? That is an interesting question.
It is, but there's the ace in the hole going on towards Alchemist in the middle lane. Shockwave, that was an important shock blast. Sorry, not to hit. Shock blast, shockwave, very similar
things. Mega Inferno Bomb, Super
very
Mega Death Rocket.
Different things. There's Alchemist again, the shock blast doesn't quite land. And now Nightmare just manages to get away because look at how low Lasagna and Alchemist are. That is so difficult. Oh my goodness, Lasagna.
He lived.
Ooh, he lived. Looked like on about 20 health as well.
But Tick, Trick and Duck now get the chance to back off and will be able to just get a lot more farm across the map. They're building themselves up a bit of experience here with their level 6 now on Ryze, actually in a one-on-one against Chewed Up. You should be able to deal with that in spite of the level difference, and they should be able to hold the mid lane as well. So they're not going to lose any objectives, and they do rotate themselves to the farm more effectively. Stop smiling.
I'm trying to hold my composure.
You're failing.
I am failing. And, you know, I don't want to use the same word. I was going to segue using the word failing, but I was saying just so much pressure has been put on Ryze right now. But saying that, since the last time we checked, he has been started to get that free farm. And that is what we talked about, is if a Ryze can get free farm, you can pretty handily start coming back into it because of how well he scales. Very similar to Kassadin, very similar to Jax. The later the game goes, the more potent he becomes, the more farm, the more items. Really difficult to deal with. So he's now got that catalyst. He's started to really build towards his core. And it's really on Ryze to just get himself sat in a solo lane somewhere and just farm for the next 10 minutes.
Yeah, they've been moving him around to get a decent bit of experience on him and to farm his tier a decent bit. Not perfectly, he's not doing as well as he'd like. Actually now, Lasagna knows where Nightmare is.
He does. Oh, and Nightmare is going to get locked in place.
Ooh.
Actually gets pushed away from the solar flare, and Nightmare gets away because of it.
Well worth it. Used quite a few ults and flashes and things, but if you look at the health now, that gives Tick, Trick and Duck so much ability now to just take control of the map. They've got Caitlyn pushing out bottom. They've got the mid lane pushing in with Snow, and they've got Ryze pushing out the top. And the entire opposing team needs to back, really. They've lost too much health to be fighting. If they could get like a 4 versus 2 in the mid lane, obviously that would work for them. But they're being too cautious about it, and that means they're going to lose damage on that top tower.
It really, really does. And you know, Trick and Duck have got really good wave clear as well. I mean, that's one thing to look at, is when mistakes were made are starting to push in. They've got Caitlyn, they've got Jace, they've got Zyra, and then if it pushes in far enough, they got Ryze, who, you know, can easily just spell flux and clear everything in front of him. So, I mean, mistakes were made, get themselves the turret from that. I believe Dragon is kind of due up in just over 2 minutes, if my maths and intuition is about right, but
my maths and intuition is not good enough to check your maths and intuition, so I'm gonna just guess that
yeah, there we
correct.
go, 2 minutes.
Well done, Stretch.
Man, that was challenger level knowledge.
Counting down from 6 minutes.
Yeah, I've just been counting in my head.
Well done. I think that's intuition more than knowledge, though, Stress, really.
True, true.
That's the unconscious part of your brain.
Hey, at least it's in there. Like,
yeah, that's true. I don't know what I'm doing half the time, so. Especially when I'm playing the game, no idea.
oh no, yeah, exactly. When I'm playing the game, like, I'll be damned if I can remember a dragon timer. Like,
that's why you get some of the players in interviews, like after games, you ask them what they did in the game, like,
no idea.
oh, just played the game.
No idea. Can't remember anything.
I know what champion I was playing.
Yeah, that's. I mean, this game's kind of slowed a little bit. It's not really that surprising when you consider Kassadin, Jax, Ryze all in the same game. Very, very late game scaling. So this mid game is going to be a little less explosive, perhaps, than some of the team compositions we've seen more recently, and is going to be a lot more about that rotations game for the towers. For when you have that gap to push a tower, get it quickly, and move on. Because that's another thing Trick and Duck have with this Jace, with Caitlyn, both very good at pushing towers.
Yeah, very, very true. And the other thing is that because both teams have really scary pick creators, they've got Kassadin and Leona on one side, and they've got Evelynn on the other, that basically restricts your movements.
Yeah.
If you don't know where these given targets are, you just can't go anywhere. And because both teams have such good late games, they are thinking, well, I'd rather not take the risk, I'd rather take the low risk, low reward, and just keep farming out to a point where we're roughly equal. And indeed, right now they are almost exactly equal. Does mean, though, that Phantom Joe, who's pushed out quite a long way right now, is an obvious target. Of course, the dragon being up means he's much safer to do.
Yeah, Trick and Duck had the exact timer on it, so
yeah, it's too late.
mistakes were made. We'll only have known when it got respawned, but there is a lot of damage coming out. Oh, there's the Zenith Blade in on towards Bonaparte. Stranglethorns as well, a massive zoning area, but it's actually mistakes were made that are starting to pick up kills here. Alchemist goes to a killing spree, and Trick and Duck are very low here.
So it was a very good Stranglethorns, but there was just nobody in position to follow up on it and do a lot of damage. Now here,
Zenith Blade in, he's under tower, can he get the kill? It's Lasagna that's going to be getting it in through the side.
Worth.
Comes Alchemist, and yes, that is indeed worth.
And they should be able to get the tower as well. Jax, very fast tower pusher, much as many of these other champions are in this game. Top tower will drop here. Phantom Joe stronger in the one-on-one than Shyvana, but they're going to be very happy to make that trade.
Yeah,
considering the dragon.
They've got another problem is that bottom lane, the teleport's actually going to be used in the bottom lane and gets cancelled.
Wasn't a dragon's descent.
Maybe trying to force shoot up to back. I guess they just wanted to maybe show it, force him to back away. Didn't feel like the kill. Unless there's something I'm missing, I don't really see the benefit of not getting that.
We may have accidentally cancelled it.
Maybe.
That is always a possibility.
I may just
out.
be missing something. It wouldn't be the first time.
Nope. No, it wouldn't. I mean, yes.
Wait, was he top lane? I didn't see whether he was top lane or whether he backed. If he was top lane,
Phantom Joe was top at the time.
He may have got stunned.
No, that's the thing. He was against Shyvana.
Ah.
It wasn't a dragon's descent.
Okay.
So,
True.
yeah. I'm not entirely sure about that move myself.
Yeah, I was looking
again,
at things the wrong way around.
There's a high priority here for Trick and Duck to get him farmed up. So why wouldn't they just teleport him down there, have Caitlyn be with the team to be doing tower pushing duty?
Interesting.
They just decided against it. Maybe Sunny was just like, no, this is my farm. I'm bot lane now.
Maybe that was indeed the case. Actually, Archangel stuff has been finished out on Kassadin, roughly at 450 stacks right now, so well on his way to getting Seraph's Embrace.
Yep.
Which, you know, again, helps towards that late game scaling of Kassadin.
No Roa.
No, that's actually an interesting point. Opted for his, you know, more defensive item to be that Zhonya's Hourglass.
I'm curious. If he's a man, he's going to build a Deathfire.
Okay.
Because what you do is you jump into the middle of the enemy team, you
Right.
Deathfire them, you burst them for all their health, and then you Zhonya, and then you jump out again.
I have a feeling it may be slightly more to do with the fact that he just was laning against the Jace, and Seeker's Armguard is pretty efficient, especially against an armored laner. So it's okay. I know you. I know you were right there. You just want him to be a man.
I just love people building Deathfire on everything.
On everything.
I built Deathfire Fiddlesticks. Back when the fear was 3 seconds, you fear them, you Deathfire them, and you ult on their face.
Okay.
Because they can't move while you're ulting.
At least it's better than Pulse's Leona top. But here goes Instinctive into the fight. Here comes Lasagna from the side as well. We're actually going to get right back up to that. As Bonaparte did take down Yarrow, but that is kills across the board for Tick, Trick, and Duck. Instinctive is very low as well, and Tick, Trick, and Duck just coming out ahead there.
Yeah, if you've got your kite abilities available with Ryze in a 2-on-2, he's really, really strong. You can't focus him out instantly, which you would do normally. You are also forced into actually something else.
Oh, Alchemist is going to drop Bonaparte very low. Couldn't convert the kill. Chewed up now in trouble. Teleport is coming through. That's a kill onto Snow from Alchemist. He's now unstoppable. And it's Nightmare in from the side. Can Alchemist reposition? Oh, goes straight into Sunny. And it's Phantom Joe from the side. Allows Sunny to pick up the kill. And Instinctive Rune Prisoned in place. He's going to get himself away just in the nick of time.
I was having a moment of panic. I didn't see Phantom Joe coming down though. So with him there as a definite cleanup, even if Nightmare had died, the fact that he was in such an aggressive position, forcing the enemy to stay and fight, meant that he was securing his team the advantage there. So they did pick up the edge in that fight, but it's still not really amounting to a very significant difference. And Lasagna is about to finish his Feral Flare and has gone double offensive items.
Yeah, and we were talking earlier about that offensive items out from the jungle, and yeah, he's only 3 away.
Slow-paced game like this, it works.
Yeah, I mean, he's not really forced into a situation where he needs that defensive item right now, and I wonder what his 3rd item is going to be.
I guess he'll go defensive. I don't think Triforce.
I have to think so, but I mean, I'm so used to lane Jax that just seeing a Jax of that Triforce makes me sad.
Well, the thing about Feral Flare is it does so much damage on its own that with a Blade of the Rune King as well, you just don't need the burstiness of the Triforce.
Yep.
And maybe, you know, maybe he will go for 3 offensive items, but I feel like if you want to go triple offensive Jax, you need a Kayle on your team. Something to make sure he stays alive. You need a Lulu. You know, you need extra defensive stats that aren't coming from you.
This is such... I feel like it's such a good position for Mistakes Were Made in some respects. They are down on the gold count. But when you think they have a 5-1 Kassadin right now, a Jax who has got himself to that damage item and is out of a lot of that difficult portion of the game for Jax, and they've put back their enemy Ryze to 0-4. He hasn't had a chance to snowball. That's not to say he can't. He has been farming fairly well for the last 10-15 minutes, but I mean, I feel like Kassadin right now being so strong is going to be a big problem for TTD.
Yeah, huge weight on the shoulders of Bonaparte if it comes down to 5-on-5 fights. And in fairness, it might not. If they can keep the poke up from the Jace Shock Blast, but that will fall off as time goes on. If Bonaparte can peel them off though, they can make it work.
Lasagna will get rooted in place. Stranglethorns is going to zone away quite a few members. That the culling didn't actually land really when Mistakes Were Made wanted it to, and that's a double kill coming out from Caitlyn. They've already taken Kassadin away from this, and it's only chewed up the remains.
So the problem Tick, Trick, and Duck could face in team fights is their backline getting bursted out.
Yeah.
if you get a very good Stranglethorns that zones everybody out, their range damage is so high. It's so high, especially in a sustained fight like that.
Yeah, and now it's down to shoot up. Flash forward out of Bonaparte. The roots did land, and Sunny will go to his rampage.
We got that. They will get the tower. That puts them now significantly far ahead. This is starting to get to team fight influencing levels of difference. And Lasagna had his 2 damage items finished. He had his Feral Flare and his Blade of the Ruined King for the last fight. Didn't seem to be enough. Partly because they were diving into the Dragon Pit. But even so, a little bit of a risky fight. Of course, even if they start losing all their fights in a row, they can still try and just start playing the pick game, because even though they're up against Evelynn and against Ryze, who are very, very good in that, the other 3 members are squishy, vulnerable targets.
And we've seen Kassadin get ahead and not win the game. I mean, you only have to look at our last game. I mean, granted, there's no Kayle in this game, and Kayle was a significant factor.
Yeah, and they kept team fighting against Kayle as well, which was not smart.
Whereas I think if they don't get picked on Kassadin, it should still work out for them, but they have to be careful that they're not giving too much over to Tick, Trick, and Duck, because Tick, Trick, and Duck have a significant lead right now.
Yeah.
They're 5,500 gold up, and they have a very good pushing composition themselves. So if they can snowball it like they are now, they're looking for this push, but Phantom Joe will get locked down. There's the Solar Flare as well, and Yarrow drops very low. Alchemist forced to Zhonya's and use the Seraph's active. Shoot up with the culling through is going to just save his team, but look at how low mistakes were made and now the push might be on from Tick, Trick, and Duck.
Yeah, they need to recall right now. Mistakes were made, need to recall. They're going to lose the tower here. They should just abandon it. They can't stay, they can't defend, and that will mean that Tick, Trick, and Duck will back away now. But imagine a best case scenario fight here.
Oh, can they actually get anything from this? They are pretty high health, but look at the damage coming out from Tick, Trick, and Duck, though. They managed to lock down a couple of people and get significant damage.
So, the peel from Tick, Trick, and Duck, remember, they're super dependent on their peel. If it all goes in one direction, it's a Grasping Roots and a Stranglethorn. A best-case scenario fight for mistakes were made is a Shyvana flank.
Oh, Chewed-Up is just going to get decimated, but manages to hang on and take Snow away with him as Sunny now goes to Unstoppable. It's a Nightmare will go to a killing spree. That's another kill on Kassadin, and that was what we were talking about, is they can't really afford that to happen. And Tick, Trick, and Duck are starting to build that snowball here.
Yeah. Because, of course, if you get so far behind that even a best-case scenario team fight you lose to, at that point, you have very few answers to the opponents you've got now. You can try and split push, except that none of your duelists will beat Ryze. You can try and engage against a siege, except it's going to be very hard to get a Shyvana flank when you're pressed back against your tower, and they've got a Stranglethorns down, and they've got a Grasping Roots down, and you're quite weak, so you need a really good engage. That altogether just means that falling behind too much, you run out of options fast.
Jax is opting for the Hex Drinker as his next item. Well, I'm extrapolating.
Clearly, what? No, man, it's Merc Treads and a Bloodthirster.
Could be, but you know, I'm just kind of hedging my bets on this, that it's going to be a Hex Drinker, which is an interesting choice. Yeah, I'm wondering what your thoughts are on that Hex Drinker as opposed to, you know, a full defensive item like Aranduin's.
A lot of the damage is magic damage. Hex Drinker is like a hyper-efficient item, assuming you use all the components of it. And he's relying on everyone else to be the first dives in. So he's got so much damage. I still don't like it. I still think he's going to be too squishy. When he's behind like this, it's going to be too easy for him to be focused out. And I can understand the build, but I just don't think it will work very well.
It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, if he makes it work, then I'll eat
It's
my
going to be one
words,
of these times where he like survives on so little health that he was like, oh, a Hex Drinker saved him.
Well, if it happens, it happens. You know, some people get lucky.
Yeah. Oh, they do indeed. But, you know, I'm just trying to figure out here how mistakes were made prevent Tick, Trick, and Duck from just rotating between towers. Because their tower push is so strong. So strong. I mean, if Hypercharge isn't level 5, it is. Okay, I was going to say, if Hypercharge isn't level 5 way back in this game, there's something wrong. And I mean, how do you stop a Jace with Hypercharge and a Caitlyn pushing into a tower when they've got Zyra to disengage as well?
Well, first thing you do is... Oh, he's living. He's not
no,
living.
he's not.
He's not living. But, so the first thing you can try and do is split push, right? Logical answer to that, of course, from Tick, Trick, and Duck is to send Rise up there, who's stronger.
Oh, Lasagna's going to get picked up as well. Stranglethorns was
Survive.
used, and he does survive. So that's a big cooldown.
Now, look at the situation.
And now you got a low health Kassadin, you got a low health Jax against this insane tower pushing composition.
Yarrow, don't go in.
Yeah, look at how much damage Yarrow is taking. He doesn't have tank items to be able to survive through this, so it's just a matter of time before TTD really turn the pressure up on this one. And meanwhile, up in top lane, Phantom Joe is holding Instinctive up there, holding him to account. There's the Solar Flare. Snow instantly got healed back up there, will drop as Lasagna gets dropped low as well. Tick, Trick, and Duck have so much damage right now, and Bonaparte picked up a kill during that. Sunny is now maybe going to try and dual shoot up, but I don't know whether he's quite got the damage himself. It's actually Bonaparte gets dropped incredibly low. Sunny will turn it around for a kill, and now the chase is on towards shoot up, but they turn the damage back around. Teleport came through from Phantom Joe. Oh, that was an important set.
And now Instinctive is stuck in top lane. What can he do? He can try and like home guard in, dive in, and just die, or he can watch as his inhib goes down. He was strangely not teleporting in himself to support the engagement, and I have to feel that was a miscommunication.
I also didn't see where exactly in lane he was.
Hello.
As you see, Dragon's Descent was available, but Instinctive.
The kite.
Oh, the kite was so good out of Tick, Trick, and Duck. And they pick up another one.
And now Turtle Shell cracks.
Yes. Massive gold lead.
Yarrow went Talisman of Ascension. Definitely sensible. He was trying to make the engages happen. He tried to make an engage happen then. But weirdly enough, I actually think it was the Caitlyn AoE, the Piltover, which I hit the entire attack force basically there, backfired, like was what killed most of them. He did so much damage to them. And obviously then it was just a matter of finishing them off with a single target damage. They're too far behind now.
I'd be interesting, speaking about the teleport, I'd be interested to see, because I didn't check it, I'd be interested to see where Ryze teleported from in relation to Shyvana. Because Dragon's Descent was available. Unless it was like, you know, very shortly off cooldown. It'd just be interesting to see. But that teleport really worked out for Tick, Trick, and Duck.
Yeah, I mean, that in itself is a miscommunication, though, because if your team in the bot lane is saying, we want to go for an engage right now with Yarrow, you know, we're going to go in on this, why is your top laner not saying, I don't know where Ryze is, I can't cancel his TP if he comes, and I'm weaker than him, so double check on that.
Yeah, and at that point, it's a point where if your top laner is saying that, you shouldn't go in.
Ryze is super scary.
They still had time to back away. So interesting that the communication is, you know, maybe not quite this level of Tick, Trick, and Ducks, but, you know, we'll see whether they can rectify that.
Tick, Trick, and Duck obviously have a lot more experience. They've been together for a while, and although they did change out one member, I believe, and they kind of they like disbanded and then came back together again.
Yeah, and I was checking that earlier with you, and it was quite a while ago that was, in fact. So I mean, they've played. This is the team that I believe it was 4th in Cope Challenger League. I believe they re-qualified for the round of 20 again. So they are very experienced. They're a well-experienced team, and looks like they want to look towards the Baron here.
They know they got the vision. They've completely strangled out any vision here from their opponents, so it's a very safe Baron because they can do it with the 2 members there. And in the event that the entirety of mistakes were made, we're like, well, they might be doing it, we'll try and contest it. They could have said, okay, they're coming, we'll back off, and we'll maybe look to engage on them when they come.
No.
Safe play.
I was going to say, I was hoping Yarrow cleared that pink ward, because he walked all the way past it, and I was like, okay. But it's a tricky situation for mistakes were made to be in right now. They are very far behind. 13,000, nearly 14,000 actually is the gap between the 2 teams, and I mean, their saving grace perhaps is that Kassadin is 6-4. I mean, but earlier it was 6-3. Earlier it was, you know, I believe it was 5-2. And there's just been kill after kill, pick after pick that we've kind of seen it slip away from them so far.
The only really conceivable way I could see mistakes were made doing anything good for their situation right now is actually getting a fight like this.
Oh, Sunny managed to get away from the
maybe
solar
not.
flare though, and Yarrow gets absolutely destroyed here. That's a double kill for Zyra, and a quick third kill for iNightmare is likely to end the game.
Yeah, especially if they get chewed up here as well. Ace in the hole. Not going to come through, but certainly going to be another inhib at least. And 30 seconds until any damage comes up.
With Jace and Caitlyn, this is just, this is game. Yeah, the inhibitor in the bottom lane comes up, but they're not even looking at that. They're just going to tank up both of the towers there. The culling is going to do a little bit of damage, but not before Shoot Up gets absolutely destroyed, and that is going to be a fast tower push from that inhibitor through the Nexus turrets into that Nexus. And that is game number 1 of this best of 3, going over to Tick, Trick, and Duck.